It's about working on the nature within myself that is negative, that is lazy, that is full of doubt, that is full of fear, and working on those things and going to war with those things every day.
Welcome to Bigger Than the Hustle podcast, where I bring you real conversations with entrepreneurs on how they live their lives outside their business. We deep dive into the energies, the motivations, the habits, the disciplines, and the mindsets which make them successful in their life, which in turn leads to success in their business. Now, today, I've got an international speaker, an author, a transformation coach who has a deep belief in his faith as well. So he uses a lot of his learnings and he uses a lot of his skills within the life he leads. And I've been hugely looking forward to having this conversation with him. He's someone that I want to pick his brain, and I'm sure there's so many more things that we will learn over this next hour. So without further ado, hi Hiten.
Hi, Amit, how are you?
Not bad, how are you?
Yeah, I'm well, I'm good.
Good. So I'm just going to hand over the mic for you for a couple of minutes. If you can just give a little brief introduction into yourself, and we'll carry on the conversation from there.
Sure. So my name is Hiten Bhatt. I'm the author of The Leadership Adventure, the 5 powerful secrets every leader should know. I am a well-being coach and a speaker. I've had the honor of speaking in many countries around the world, and I work with businesses and I work with young people as well, helping to motivate them, helping them to develop their soft skills, and helping them with their well-being.
Perfect. So it sounds like you know, coaching, author, speaking, you have a lot of insights and a lot of information that you like to share to try and make people's lives a little bit easier with the skill sets that you have. Now, where did this start from? Because I know when you graduated, you were into law. Law was sort of like your area, and then you sort of moved into this area. So can you give me a little bit insight into that before we carry on the conversation?
Sure. So, there's this really interesting quote, right, about happiness, right? Happiness was basically, I read that 2 decisions you have to get really right in your life. Two key choices you have to get right, absolutely spot on. One is what you actually do to make a living is a source of happiness, because most people spend 9 to 5 at that particular job. And the other choice is obviously who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, right? So that's those. If you get those 2 things right, so what you do and who you spend your time with, I think that can massively impact your happiness or misery, depending on which one. And being an Indian, sometimes we are programmed to think that we will be an accountant, we'll be a doctor, we'll be a lawyer, right? And those are the things, right? So, I thought that law was something I wanted to do. I thought that was going to bring me happiness and satisfaction. And, I went down the path of it, but I soon realized that actually this is not something that's making me happy. You'd be around people where the culture it just doesn't fit. And something's wrong, right? If you're in a job where you're just so much looking forward that it's Friday and it's the weekend, and then every Sunday after 5 o'clock, you get this sinking, depressing feeling that says, oh my God, it's Monday now. And I've got another week of work that I don't enjoy, that I'm not passionate about, that I'm not connected to ahead of me. So, I realized that basically this, I thought law was for me, maybe because of pressure, maybe because of thinking that, it's about being a lawyer, isn't it? That's something, but it wasn't me. And I'm really glad, and I'm really happy that I realized that quite early, and changed directions.
Now, just something quickly on that. What was it that gave you the insight? First of all, that you weren't happy. And secondly, that even though you'd spent, considerable amount of time studying and coming out the other side of that, that actually now, because there could be a mindset of, I'm going to carry on because I've done that, and I'm not going to, lose that investment I made in time or energy into that space. So I'm just going to push through. Somehow must just be me. It must be just that I'm unsettled. So I just need to carry on with this, and I'll find my way through, right? What gave you the strength and the belief to know that actually, even though I spent all this time doing this, I don't want to do this anymore? That's one, strength and belief. But secondly is then how do you find your new path when you're in that state of confusion at that point?
That's a great question. I mean, you've got some great questions, I can tell, up your sleeve. So, I mean, to answer that, I think there was one incident where I was speaking to a barrister, and he was quite an elderly gentleman, wrinkles on his face, and he had that kind of weathered barrister look about him, right? And I asked him as a young chap, I said, I'm thinking of entering the law. Do you have any advice? Do you have any advice for me? And one thing that he said to me that kind of made me think and pause, right? And the way he said it, he said, if you want to be in the legal profession, be prepared for the law to become your life, right? And he said that statement to me. And then after I left it, I thought to myself, hold on a second. I don't want the law to become my life. I don't actually want to do this as my life, right? And that got me thinking. And I think, a lot of people, I like to think of life as an expanse of time. Obviously we don't know how long we're here for, right? There's no guarantees in life. But if you have a long-term view of your life and of your vision, then, the time that you think you've invested is not, you're not thinking, I've invested, I've done 3 years of a degree and now I've done the legal practice course and now I'm there. So what? It doesn't, you can change at any time. A person, even at 80 years old, can change and have a vision right until the last breath. That's my philosophy.
And I guess you had to go through that to know that it wasn't for you, right? You can, in hindsight, you can say, actually, I did law and I thought it was going to be good, and now I know it's not going to be good. So there's no waste because you've learned, right? That learning cost you time, it cost you energy, it cost you money, but you learned. And therefore the learning was definitely needed to be done, because then you can move your life forward. Absolutely. In the right way, correct? Absolutely. If you didn't learn, like I said, if you carried on with law, where's the learning then? Because you've actually not learned anything, right? And you've not got the strength. And that strength, does that come from, the ability to just change your course, change your path from one to another? What was that thinking then, to say, actually, now I know that law is not the path I'm on and I want to move into a different direction? What was the first choice you made then?
I think you've got to follow, there's a great quote that says, follow your joy. Mm-hmm. We have a navigational system inbuilt within us, right? Our navigational system tells us when we're not happy in any situation, whether that be a relationship, whether that be a career choice, whether that be anything. And what most people do is they desensitize themselves. They're not in tune with themselves, right? They just carry on like robots, down the line of years and years and years, and they find out, you know what, I'm not actually satisfied and happy. I've kind of been blessed in the sense of in my life of just always being that extra sensitive kid, and very much, I was bullied as I was bullied at school. I was always weird, right? Always an outcast, always weird. But I've always honored my own calling. Mm-hmm. So like if I loved art, I'd draw for ages. If I loved music, I'd get into music. If I loved any passion, I would follow that passion. Mm-hmm. And that's a really important thing, I think, for people to remember. Your navigational system and what guides you is being in tune with yourself. How happy am I right now? How much joy am I experiencing? And then making choices to enhance that. That makes sense.
And do you think that desensitization, which you talked about, do you think the root of that is fear? in terms of where it comes from, because to be desensitized to a point where you just carry on without question, without putting yourself forward, or I've always said that the world needs to see people which are happy, because when there's happy people, there's a raised elevation of energy around, and that's what this universe needs. Right now, obviously, we're going through a pandemic, and there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of stress around, and there's a lot of uncertainty and unknowns. To a pessimistic mindset, that can be the worst combination, because you're always going to see the negative, right? But to the optimistic mindset, it's always going to be opportunity. There's always opportunity in any situation which we find ourselves in. And I think it's us having the faith in ourselves to say we have the skills and we have the mind to grow whichever situation we're in, right? So use that skill and use that energy to keep growing and keep moving forward, right? And if that means that you're on a path that doesn't serve you anymore, take that sign, move on, and have faith that the path will find itself.
Absolutely.
Or the light will shine on your path. You just have to be open to seeing it, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down.
Learn to fly, right? Learn to fly,
but you've got to jump off the cliff first.
Yeah. So then how did you get into sort of like the coaching side of things? So which was first? Was it the sort of writing, or was it sort of the coaching, or was it the speaking, that sort of, or was it a combination of those?
I think I wanted to do many things, right? I wanted to do many things, right? So I wanted to get into acting. I wanted to get into, singing. I wanted to get into all sorts of performance. I wanted to do many different things, right? And what I thought was, again, coming back to that sense of joy, is I wanted a medium to be able to express some of the talents that I have, right, that I've been blessed with, right, and so what I found was a medium for that was actually like teaching. I found that teaching was a fantastic thing, because that's what a coach and a mentor does. And the thing about teaching is, when you speak about things, you're not the guru, right? I don't claim in any way, right, to be a guru of any sort or have any particular knowledge. But what happens is that when you say certain things, it becomes, you're actually, there's this quote that says, when you teach, two people learn. The person speaking the knowledge, obviously the person receiving the knowledge might be gaining, but the person speaking it becomes more ingrained in them. It becomes much more powerful inside them. So that's what I loved about teaching. I saw teaching and coaching and mentoring as a way of working on my personal development. And I always found myself in a role of an advisor right from a kid, right? All my friends would come to me for advice. And as a teenager, people would come for me, and even older people would come to me for advice. So I kind of just fell into this thing. And because I've always been reading like philosophically, and I was into like martial arts, and I've been very, very blessed in my life, Amit, to have some fantastic teachers and mentors that taught me lessons. I did martial arts. Because I was getting bullied at school. To help my confidence, I did martial arts. And there was a great teacher, Mr. Mercer, who was a science teacher, right? But he was also a black belt. And, he started in lunchtime, he started a karate class, and we used to go to that karate class, but he used to impart life lessons. And I thought, wow, how inspiring. And to make that difference in people, there's just so much joy in that. So that's how I fell into this. I didn't plan to go into it. I just, again, follow your joy, and I love storytelling as well. So I got into speaking, and,
Perfect. So now if we step forward, so right now, obviously we're going through a situation with this unprecedented, no one understands, or, we're all trying to figure it out together, right? No matter what anyone says. How have you had to adapt, maybe your the business side of things, but also your life, for the situation we find ourselves in now? And how can you continue to shine your light for the people around you, so that they don't get, too bogged down by what's going on?
Sure. So I'll take the easier one of those first. I'll take the business side, right? And then I'll go into the life one, right? On that one. On the business side, right? I think it's very important as an entrepreneur to be able to change with change, and to be able to adapt fast and to move with the times. Now, even before the pandemic, even before COVID-19, right, there was a great momentum towards digital technology, digital transformation of doing business via digital means. This has just now sped that up, and I think it's very exciting because actually there's so much opportunity. There is so much opportunity to use technology to communicate, to do I don't have to get onto a plane to go and deliver a workshop or a webinar. I can do that online now, right? Imagine my saving costs. Imagine how the speed at which information can be delivered now. So I think it's very exciting times from a business point of view, and certainly for my thing. A lot of my coaching, a lot of my delivery, a lot of the things that I'm doing right now is via online means, right? Which is super exciting. With regards to life. And this situation that we find ourselves in now. I mean, think about the great expanse of time, Amit, right? We are born, right, in probably one of the best times ever, right, of human history. Imagine if you were born in World War II. Imagine if you were born in a time, 200 years ago. Right? Look at the comfort. You can go downstairs and you've got hot water, cold water. You've got a fridge. You've got a supermarket where you have access to whatever you want to eat. You have Netflix and you have digital communication and mobile phones and oh my God. So even the kings and the emperors, if you took a king or an emperor of 200, 300, 500 years ago, whatever time frame you want to choose from the past, and you took an average guy, right, here in the modern world, and just looked in there, just standard, they would be living a better quality of life than an emperor of 500, 300 years ago. They've got a fridge, they've got a cooker, they've got all this technology. So a massive thing in life, right, just to come to this thing, is perspective. And my favorite rhyme, and I've got to share this with you, right, is this. I had the blues because I had no shoes. When upon the street, I happened to meet a man with no feet.
There you go.
So I had the blues because I had no shoes. I was crying because I didn't have shoes. But then I saw somebody that didn't have any feet. So, perspective is a massive thing. And this whole pandemic, if you just count our blessings, if you just count what we have, right, in our life, the fact that your heart's beating, the fact that we're having this conversation now, right? The fact that we're here now, we're so blessed. So the glass half full mentality is something that certainly helped me. And that's the advice that I would give to people in terms of every day, every moment, count your blessings because they're innumerable when you look for them.
Hiten, I love the way you think. I love the thought process that you go through. Something that I've always found interesting is, has there been any times in your life where you've been through pain, trauma, or heartache, which has created this version of you? Because what I found in my own life, 10 years ago, I went through quite a dark time, a time where I was broken. I'd set up my life thinking that the capitalist version of this life was the right way, chasing the money, chasing the big things. And I found that it got to me to a point where I was on the edge of my bed crying and telling my wife, I can't do this anymore. And that was my catalyst to change, because I realized it wasn't the world that needed to change. It was me that needed to change for the world to change, right? And then so many things happened in terms of me starting investing in my health, me investing in myself as a person, books, knowledge, listening, closing my mouth, opening my ears, and evolved into the person you see here today. Now, it took that almost like a crash against the wall for me to say, actually, now something needs to change. And that's when, and I will look back now, at the time I didn't see it, but that was the best thing that ever happened to me for my whole life, that crash. Because like I said, the phoenix rose from that, from the embers. Wow. So has there been any times in your life where you've been through trauma, heartache, or pain, which has created the version that I see in front of me today?
Wow. Bhavik, that is a great question. You got some fantastic ones. And it's interesting that you say, that incident was the catalyst and the phoenix rising from the fire. I absolutely love that analogy. Yeah, it's a great one. I think we all go through pain and suffering and as part of life. And I think often many people, as you have, use that as an opportunity, not at the time, but later on, looking back, as the opportunity for massive change and transformation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, last year I had a health scare, right? That came totally out of the blue, right? That was so strange. It was a time that was very, very scary for me. And you don't expect it. I'm relatively young, right? So, you don't expect to be in that situation. And it was very scary for my wife and my family at that time. And we were in this situation that we had not planned for. And thanks to God's grace, we've come through it. But the learning from that was it made me prioritize what's important. You see, I had as well, as you mentioned, slightly got into a bit of a bad habit of thinking it's all about the business. It's all about the business, right? It's all about the money. It's all about the business. And how you justify that is you say to yourself, because if I make lots of money and I do well in my business, I can provide a good life for my family. I can, then support my children. I can do this. That's how you justify it. And sometimes what we're really doing is we're just justifying our own ambitions, right? And what I realized from that perspective was I'd got my priorities wrong. My priorities now are like this, right? Health, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. You can't even do your business. You can't do your work. You can't progress your career. Family, right? Actually spending quality time with your wife and your children. It's not the amount of time, it's the quality. People often get that wrong, right? And also very, very important is spirituality and your connection with the divine. It's a very, very important thing. Then once you've got those three, health, family, spirituality in order, then guess what? The business and the career thing, that's just something you do. That's the game you play. Right. So that really made that thing, that health scare really, really was put all of that in perspective for me. Massively.
And something you touched upon as one of your points, which is spirituality. And now I know sort of openly, even talking to you, spirituality is really, really important to you. You have a faith and you have a connection to a divine, which you use your life to be of service to, the bigger picture. Because for me, I've always seen that when you feel a part of something bigger and where you feel that you're giving service, not just to individuals, but to the universe, you're throwing it into the middle. And then whatever grows from there, whoever can benefit, your life has been worth that journey, whichever way, you decide to move that forward. Where did the faith come from for you? Was it individual, or is that been how you've grown up or how you've been raised as a child going through to adulthood?
Sure. So I think that, faith and spirituality is something that can't be imposed. I've seen so many cases where, parents try to do that, or, they try to, and the children just rebel against it. So in my case, my family, my mother and my father, they were always very, very spiritual, but they never sort of imposed anything on us, in fact, but it was always there as a part of things. But in my life, I'm very, very blessed and very, very fortunate to have met a guru, Param Puja Pramukh Swami Maharaj. And, his presence and the experience that I had of having the darshan, having the, seeing him, speaking to him, convinced me about spirituality and about God, so that a guru in one's life for me is very, very important. And it's an experiential thing. You've got to experience it to know it.
And was that here? Was that in the UK, or was that in India or somewhere else?
He was actually so my guru. I think my first darshan of my guru was actually here within the UK. Because he was traveling around. But I also had a great experience of, for the first time in 2000, going out to India. The first time in India, right? I went and spent some time out there with him, and I had one experience. Where, I was feeling that particular morning, I was feeling very lonely and like nobody knows me, that nobody cares about me, nobody's there for me in my life, right? And we were in a village called Gondal in Gujarat in India. And we were all out waiting outside. We were quite young, all of us that were traveling, youths together were traveling. And Param Puja Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he comes to that place where we were all standing. And it was as if and I did, I was feeling very negative. There was a whole bunch of us. And, Swami, he just looks into my eyes and he just does this, and he puts his hand out to me as if he read my mind. And I put my hand in Swami's hand, and I felt very supported, very comforted. And it was an amazing experience for me. So like that, there's been many different things that I've experienced. And, I know this about all of us, that we are more than just physical. We are more than just this, Bhavik, Hiten, this current identity right now, right? We're so much more. And being in contact with that is an amazing thing.
And I guess another important thing is feeling connected all the time. So knowing that even though physically we are on our own, so today I might be sitting here talking to you, but physically I'm on my own, but I never feel alone because I know I'm made up. The energy that's within me comes from this source, comes from universe. I don't have a particular religious identity or dogma. I understand the connection to source. I understand that this universe has got, we are all players within, we are all cells within this symbiotic system called this universe, right?
Absolutely.
And for me, I've always had faith that if I can be strong, not just in physically, but mentally as well, I am being strong for the whole universe. It's not just me and the people around me, but it's everyone, right? Because if each cell in our body is strong, we have a strong body, right? But as soon as certain cells break down, we can have, disease, and we can have things that creep in. And I've always found that my job as a human being is to stay as strong as I can for whoever needs me at whatever time that is. And I think that gives me the faith to say, just keep going on this path. A lot of the time we can start questioning. A lot of the time we can start doubting, am I doing the right thing? Am I not? I think that's just the downside of being a human being. I think we think things sometimes. And like you said earlier, right at the start of the conversation, it's having that faith to know that the path will always show up.
Absolutely.
And when we sense, and I think it's becoming quiet as well, isn't it? It's those moments of quiet. It's that moments of introspection where we sit, maybe meditating, or we're just sitting and allowing our environment to come into us, that we know this is right or this is not right. And even though sometimes our head says something's right, our gut or our heart is saying, no, that's not the right way. Or sometimes the gut and the heart are saying, this is the right way, but the head saying, that doesn't make sense. And it's I think it's having the faith to say, I'm going to go against you, head, because the gut and the heart have so much more insight than you will ever have. And
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's a great
but it's only when you go quiet, right? It's only when you let divine enter you, because we can always stay in our head all the time, can't we? And I think in this Western culture we live in, a lot of it's about logic. Because logic doesn't make sense. But a lot of the time our gut emotion, which is now we've found to have more memory cells within our gut than we do within our brain, that is a way that we can have a life which, because we're not questioning so much, we're accepting. And when we're accepting, when we're open, I find that life seems to flow so much better, because you're like, I don't know what the outcome is of this, but I know it just feels right.
Yeah.
Because it feels right, it has to be right, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Following that intuition. Albert Einstein once said, we can't solve our problems at the same level of thinking that created them. Right? Which means, that there has to be our knowledge about things is limited. We like to be very logical. We like to be very scientific. We like to explain everything, that this and this and this. But, it's very difficult for us to understand and comprehend everything, because we only have our senses. We only have eyes, ears. This is even the greatest scientist in the world uses their five senses to, the most intelligent mind in the world, right? To try and explain the universe, explain things, right? In a logical way. But there are things, but they're limited. Our senses are limited.
Yeah.
Our knowledge is limited. So this is where the spiritual realm comes in. There are things beyond our comprehension that we can't understand. Right?
And it's having that, and I think it's having that ability to know that we can't be that stupid to think that we are the most intelligent thing out there, right? Yeah. I think as human beings, sometimes we believe that there can be nothing higher than what we are here, right?
Yeah.
But it's always having that understanding that we are, like I said, we are part of a system. It's almost like a game, right? So we are all cells within this universe that we all work together. Sometimes we don't know why we're here, but we have to have the faith that we're here for a reason, right? We didn't come through 400 million sperm to break through as us, into the egg. We've already won that race. But the race before that was our parents had to meet and procreate to create us. Their parents, go back another generation from there. Both sets of grandparents had to meet to create our parents to create us. Now you keep going back 50 generations, and then you think, how the hell did I even make it here, right? Because it's mind-blowing, isn't it? Like, you think all the decisions that had to be made for all these people to meet, to procreate, to come down, to come down, for me to be here talking to you today. And that's how I feel completely blessed all my life, because I'm like, the chances of me being here are so remote that I can't even understand how I made it. So therefore, if I did make it, that means I am here for a reason. And if I'm here for a reason, I just have to be as strong as I can, even though sometimes I may doubt it or I might question it, that there's a faith to say, you are here because you're meant to be here. And everyone is here because they're meant to be here.
Absolutely. I love that. Absolutely.
And I think it's when you put it into that, for me, when I put it into that context, then I realize I'm not that important. I'm not that important. What's important is what I do to try and help all the people around me. How can I serve and how can I be of service so that this life, when I leave, this planet is a little bit better than when I turned up in the first place.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, and that's for me really important, because I know it's even doing things like this. Another reason that I started this. So Hiten, you know, we talked about lockdown. So I have my own business. So I have a retail basis. It's a home entertainment, things like this, right? But during lockdown, we were closed for, 3, 4, 5 months, and we've never been in that situation. And the first thing I said, even to my wife and kids, is that I feel blessed because the universe has given me time with my kids, which my daughter's 14 and my son is 9. I've not seen 14 and 9 get to that stage, right? So now we're all at home. We're all spending time together. We're doing things. I've never spent this much time at home. Wow. I've never spent this much time with them apart from on a holiday, right? So my house, I'm so glad that we spent time making it nice because now we get to use it, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I started this sort of, this podcast, to try and connect with more people, try and throw conversation. Because I'm so blessed to have people in my life that I can have these kind of conversations with all the time. But so many people don't have that, Then, you can talk to people and, this kind of conversation you can almost flow with, right? But some people will hear this and say, do actual people talk like this? It's such a growth way of talking because you're trying to help each other. Some people live in the minuscule day-to-day bullshit of life, right? Just, like, oh, what's the weather like? What am I going to eat today? What's work tomorrow? But when does it become the human conversation, right? So starting this, lockdown allowed this to start and allowed me to communicate with you and talk to you. And technology has given that. And it's just, I feel completely blessed, and this has just been amazing, really.
I think, Bhavik, you're doing what I would say is a seva. Seva means service.
Service, yes.
Right? It means service. So you by starting this podcast, right? And whoever listens to it and whoever benefits from it, and all the different speakers that you have that come in and give their insights, and everybody's got something to give and to say. You're going to be helping a lot. You're going to be helping a lot of people. And my guru, Pramukh Sai Maharaj, he lived by a motto, and he often said, "In the joy of others lies our own. In the joy of others lies our own. In the good of others lies our own, and in the progress of others lies our own." So, we're all, as you say, interconnected, and this is just putting some good out there into the universe, which is something that we all need during these times.
We do. So moving sort of forward from here then, what are the next steps for you? What's the next version? What things do you still need to grow, master, and learn to create the next version of yourself?
That's a great, Bhavik. Once again, fantastic question. And the next version of me, right, is about, we all have weaknesses and we all have failings, right? And to be brutally honest with yourself, I believe, right, about your weaknesses and failings is something that's very, very important. So what I mean by that is the war, right, is not external. The war is always with yourself. The war is with your own demons, is with your own ego, right? Why did I feel insulted at that time when that person said that thing? Why did I feel jealous? Why did I feel hurt? Why can I not forgive? Why can I not let go? So we have within us, and my faith and my satsang teaches sobhavs, right? We call them sobhavs, right? Which means natures, certain natures within ourselves, right? Ego, lust, anger, jealousy, pride, all these different things. My war is to every day work on those things. It's not external. It's about working on the nature within myself that is negative, that is lazy, that is full of doubt, that is full of fear, and working on those things and going to war with those things every day. And that's the purpose of life, in my opinion.
And I've always said, irrespective of what the veneer of anyone's life is, everyone's in their own struggle, right? Everyone is struggling to understand something, maybe with other people, with their own life, with their career, with relationships.
Yes.
And it's understanding that although struggle is a part of life, because I think that's the way we continue to strive and grow as humanity, it's understanding that what's the outcome of that struggle? Why are we going through that struggle? And sometimes we don't need to. Sometimes we can just let go. Certain things that we are, the only thing we control is ourselves and our reactions to anything else.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah, that's massive.
We can't control anything else. How someone is with you, what happens in the economy, what happens with that car that's just coming ahead of you down the road. All you can do is how you respond to it and how you think about it, right? And that's the only strength you have. So once I understood this about you being 100% responsible for your own life, my life, everything changed. Because I realized it was all down to me. Yeah. I had certain things happen in my life because I chose them to. No one made me do anything. I chose them. And once you realize that's a choice I made, I can make another choice.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's continuously training, for me, it's continuing training myself to say, if there's something I don't like or something that doesn't sit with me well inside me, what have I done, or how am I looking at it that make me feel this way? Because
Absolutely.
It's never about someone else and it's never about anyone else. It's about me. And what growing do I still need to do to either work that out of me, or to say, can I change how I think about this? So therefore, it either leaves me or I grow as a human being, right?
Absolutely.
So it's for you, I know, because you talk to a lot of people, there's, you deal with one-on-one, like I said, young people especially. Where do you think, I was talking to my dad recently, and he says he personally believes, so he's 70 plus, so he's the first generation here, probably similar to your parents as well, right? So his generation were the first here, and they, I did a sort of little project about their life and about the decisions they made to sort of be where they are now. And I have a huge admiration for that whole generation. But he says something he said interesting. He goes, I think that young people have not a physically harder life, but a mentally harder life these days. The amount of information that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
Now, you deal with young people, like you said, you help young people. What kind of information do you give them to try and help them a little bit?
To come off Instagram.
100%. Or rather than coming off it, use it as a tool as it's meant to be used, as opposed to an emotional baggage that you hold with you as a comparison and a tool, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So
I agree.
So what's happening now? And I don't think this is just. I don't think, Bhavik, this is just young people, right? I think this is all of us. Why is there such an increase now around mental well-being? Yeah. And and people like suffering from mental well-being and a lack of mental well-being and things like that. One of the reasons is we're all trying to be that Lamborghini driving, six-pack ab, perfect body, perfect family life. And everybody's obviously putting the nice on social media, the nice, perfect image of their life, their perfect life. Nobody takes a picture of them. Here's me depressed. Here's a picture of my poo. Here's a picture of my vomit. Here's a picture of my blood. Here's a picture of some of the real crap and rubbish and shit that's actually going on in my life. And here, let me do a post on that. No one does that. So what's happening is, and everybody goes through those things, right? And the thing is that, you know, you get into this comparison culture, you think you're not good enough, you feel insecure, but self-worth is a very important thing. And earning self-worth and self-esteem, and it's something you have to earn every day, right? The Navy SEALs have this amazing quote. They say, win your trident every day. Win your trident every day. That the trident is their symbol of, the Navy SEALs and their pride, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to do something every day that makes them earn that, right? So everyone, you know, if you are spending your life, right, watching Netflix, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with Netflix, but eating unhealthy food, gossiping, social media, maybe, just maybe, right, your self-esteem is not really that great. But when you start exercising, you start eating healthily, you start making a routine, you start doing what you need to do, you take responsibility, you pull yourself together in life, right? Your self-esteem grows. A fantastic thing, many listeners may know, but there's a fantastic psychologist by the name of Jordan Peterson, right? He's got a lot of things on YouTube. And one of the things he says is clean your room. Why does he say clean? Why does a psychologist say clean your room? Because the simple act of cleaning your room and putting things in order is a way of ordering your life. It's a way of ordering your mind, right? So see, these are some of the things that definitely young people and children need to be taught, that it's not about comparison. You're good enough, right? It comes down to that self-love, and also certain rules and disciplines, because rules and disciplines, right, are actually what actually make us give us great happiness in life. My martial arts teacher said, you have to be shackled to be free, right? There must be shackles on you to be free. Yeah. People think, it's all about being free. No, you need rules and disciplines, man. Very, very important.
And something that ties into something that you've done. So you've written a book, and that took an enormous amount of rules and disciplines in your life to make sure you sat down and put that pen to paper or tablet or whatever, whichever way you put that through, in to create a version of you that's now sitting on a shelf, right? And you can read through. What tips do you have for anyone that may be looking to write or start their own book to get them to sort of sit down and do the work?
Sure. That's a great question, right? So I was procrastinating on writing a book for ages and ages and ages and ages, right? And eventually I came across, and I decided, look, I need to get this book out, right? And so what I did was I actually came across a coach. So I went to a mentor. This is why you need a teacher in life. This is why you need even a coach needs a coach. So I found a guy, and I'll give a shout out to him because he's a fantastic guy. He's a guy named Vishal Majaria, and he runs something called the Wow Book Camp. Okay, you can look him up, Vishal Majaria Wow Book Camp. And I went to London on his course. It was a 3-day course, and he basically had this promise to say, within 3 days, you'll have your book done, right? Wow. And he actually cheated you, which is quite a challenge, isn't it? Imagine that, right? 3 days to write a book, right? And I didn't believe it, but you know what? I invested my time and my money, and I went on his course, and literally he coached me on how to structure my book. So at the end of 3 days, I didn't have the full book, but what I did have was I actually knew I had a structure in my mind. Right? So, right from the title to the contents page, to the chapters, to all the references, to the ending of the book, and then how to actually get it published, how to get it into a physical form. So it's just like, some people say, New Year's resolution, I want to exercise, I want to train, I want to get fit. But but what helps them is when they invest in a personal trainer or in a gym membership, they think, oh my God, I have to go now because I'm paying money for this. So I have to do it. So in the same way in life, right? Sometimes when you invest in yourself and you actually say like, look, I'm accountable now, right? I'm forced to do it. So me going on that guy's course, Vishal's course, right, basically helped me to then say, you know what? I've invested in this. I need to get this book out. And I did. And since then, so many opportunities have opened up for me just because, I've got a book, I'm an author, I've been able to travel, I've been able to do amazing things with my business as a result of that. So you need structure, right? You need somebody to guide you on how to actually do it and then have a plan. And it's bit by bit. So you've got to be very disciplined. But once you have, the thing looks really big in the beginning, like, oh, write a book. It looks massive. Yeah, that's like a massive project. But once it's broken down into manageable pieces and you do it bit by bit, it's not such a mammoth task.
That's where the discipline comes in, right? When you have, even though, like you said, it's the best way to do anything. Just break it all down into micro steps and continue going on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The hard work then comes in actually doing it, right? Which is every day you have to, put in the work, right? And I think that's where anyone who makes a success within their life or within any arena field are the ones that have just stuck at it the longest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what I'd say about that was, so I went on the guy's course, right? But in a few months' time, my guru, right, was actually coming from India to the UK, and I had decided, I made a sankalp, I made a wish, right, to say I'm going to present my book, my written published book, right, in a physical form and get the blessings of my guru. And that was my, so basically.
That's your motivation, yeah?
Yeah, I had the motivation to then, all right, now I'm going to sit down, write this book. And I got it. And, the day that I actually took it to him, he had such an amazing smile and he signed my book. And that was a moment that you can never forget. So what I'm saying is when you have a goal in the future that's very important to you and very special and very meaningful for you, then that will get your discipline in order.
And also, like you said, your time scale. So you had 2 months. That if it was 2 years, it would have been 2 years. If it was 2 months, it was,
Yeah.
And I always say, it's like when I used to be at university, and you're probably similar. They give you a 3 month to do an assignment, and within the last 2 days, everything's coming out, right?
That's exactly how it works.
The brain starts thinking, right?
Yeah. You only do things. I think we're all lazy in that sense, and I think we only do things when
there's an urgency, right?
Right, there's an urgency. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Well, at this juncture, then I'd really like to thank you for coming on today. This conversation's been completely natural and completely free flow, and that's the way I've always wanted to be. I think there's so much insight that you have, there's so much knowledge that you have that you've shared, and I definitely we will do this again. I'm building a studio in Leicester, so an actual recording studio and stuff like that. So I'd like to invite you down once that's open next year.
Oh, that's amazing.
And do something face to face. And I think we can share even more knowledge. And just like you, I'm a bit of a chatterbox as well. So I think I'm sure.
That was great. No, Tonic, I loved it. I love learning from you as well.
No, not at all. So as we sort of head towards the end, I just a couple of more questions which give the listeners a little bit more insight into you. Okay. So we fast forward 200 years and you've reached the end of your life. Okay. You've done everything you've wanted to do. You've touched all the people you needed to touch. And now you're in the last stages, the last moments where you're like, I've had a good life. Okay. You don't have enough energy to speak, but you have enough energy to write down 3 words. Those 3 words have helped you and resonate with you all your life. And you hope writing those words down, they'll help other people on their journey. What would those 3 words be for you?
The 3 words would be, what an amazing question. But the 3 words would be: number 1, God. Second word, number 2, Guru. And third word, love.
Perfect. And just from our conversation, I can see why those things are important to you, because I can see they're the foundation and the basis of everything that you think about and how you live your life. So that, completely understand where those 3 words come from. So thank you for them.
Thank you.
And the last one. So this podcast is called Bigger Than the Hustle, and right now you're bigger than the world. So I've hooked up this mic, and it's connected to 7.58 billion people on this planet. They all understand you. They can all hear what you're saying. They're all conscious, and there's no language barrier. Now, if I hand over the mic for the next 30 seconds, if you would like to share a message with the world, what would that message be?
The message to the world is this. Aksharam aham purushottam dasosmi. You are more than just the physical. You are an eternal soul. You've had many births before, and you're part of eternity. You're not this current identity. Your purpose in life is to eradicate all your flaws and grow in consciousness and connect with God.
Thank you so much for that grounding message right at the end. Always knowing that you're connected and you're a part of a bigger picture, this bigger game called the universe, and a bigger understanding that, like you said, this continues, right? We are growing and evolving always, and we can't use this limited understanding of time which we have to say that's all it is, because there's so much more out there, right? So at this juncture, I'd like to say thank you, then. Thank you so much for connecting with me.
Amazing. This has been one of the, I'd just like to say, this has been one of the best, Bhavik, yeah, one of the best, most interesting. You asking some real, no superficial questions, right? This is like on some next level, right? So I've really appreciated a really great podcast, and I hope this grows in momentum, you know?
And I've always said, you know, even if it reaches that one person that really needed to hear what we're saying, you know, and it helps them make a better decision in their life to then help the people around them, it's every single minute's been worth it, and every single minute of my life has been worth living, because if it's not for that, it's not for anything, right? So is there anything you'd like to say just before we go?
No, I just like to thank you. What a great start to my morning, man.
There you go. So I'm like, when I do all these, I always feel alive when we have a real good conversation, and right now I feel alive. So thank you for being a part of that, Hiten, and I'm sure we are going to continue on this, you know.
Yeah.
So good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you, and good luck to you. I look forward to speaking to you again.
Not at all. So just before we go, guys, this was Bigger Than Hustle podcast. Big energy leads to big thoughts. Big thoughts lead to big ideas. Big ideas lead to big actions, and big actions lead to a big life. So keep thinking big. Until next week, thanks for tuning in, and goodbye.
All right, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm just going to decide what I'm going to do, because that's not going to work either, and that puts extra pressure on you, and that extra pressure means that it's setting yourself up almost for a failure.